Hi, I'm Chase Barnett, and I will be reporting for American DA Live. This week, we'll be talking about the Troy Davis murder trial. On August 19, 1989, a Georgia man named Troy Davis murdered off-duty police officer Mark McPhail as McPhail was responding to an assault. Troy Davis was prosecuted by Spencer Lawton, and during the trial, 7 witnesses testified that they had seen Troy Davis shoot Officer Mark McPhail. Davis was convicted of murder with an aggravating circumstance and sentenced to death in 1991. 20 years later, on September 21, 2011, Davis was executed. On today's show, Jack Patty, Ray the DA, and Spencer Lawton will be discussing the case.
Excited about the guests you have lined up for us this morning, because this is talk about being timely. We have heard so much about this case in the last month, and particularly in the last couple of weeks. Tell us who our guest is and what it's about.
Well, as you know, and as probably most of our listeners know, Troy Davis, who was convicted in 1989 of murder of an off-duty police officer, Mark McPhail, in the Savannah, Georgia area, was executed. He was tried, convicted of murder, and the lead prosecutor and the prosecutor in that case was Spencer Lawton. Spencer has retired from that position recently, but is one of the real great prosecutors in America. I've known him for a while because he and I both served together on the board of directors of the National District Attorneys Association. He has been named the Georgia Prosecutor of the Year, and he's truly a gentleman. He has listened to this Troy Davis stuff for a long time. 22 years, this never-ending appeal process in public relations by the anti-death penalty types has gone on. And he sent an email out to a lot of us on the board of directors about it, and I just said, we need to talk to Spencer, and I found him. And Spencer and his wife are traveling up the coastal highway in California, and he says, I can't make it back in time for the show. And I said, well, let's talk on the phone. And so Spencer is with us today. Spencer, how you doing?
Fine, Ray. Thank you very much.
Got a nice view from the PCH of the Pacific Ocean from where you are?
I will pretty soon. It's dark right here.
Yeah, it's 6:10, so you're not only traveling, you're traveling in the middle of the night with us. Thank you so much for getting up early and being with us.
And what I'd like to do in this case, this Troy Davis case, is I'd like to talk a little bit about the crime, and I'd like to talk about the trial and the evidence that was available that ended up in convicting this guy. And then you call the trial and the legal aspects of this Troy Davis case Davis 1. Then after the conviction and that sort of thing, then the public relations campaign by the anti-death penalty groups took over, and you call that Davis 2. But first I want to talk about the case itself. You were the prosecuting attorney in Savannah at this time, and so tell us how you came to find out about this homicide. Let me ask this, Spencer. How many witnesses, first of all, you say you had shell casings at the scene of the pool party where a young man was shot in the face by Davis. So the police had those shell casings from that crime scene earlier in the day. You say they had shell casings from the scene of the McPhail murder. Okay, so they matched, and they came from the same gun, and you were able to prove. Spencer, this as a prosecutor, what I've heard is you got physical evidence linking the gun, you got the witnesses linking the defendant to the gun, at both instances. You got the shell casings, and then you got witnesses that identify this guy as the shooter. Now that's, from a prosecution perspective, that's what you'd like to hear in every homicide.
So far we've gone through the case, the conviction, the death sentence that was imposed by the judge, and then we had a host of appeals that followed that conviction.
That's right, and all of the appeals of this death sentence by the Troy Davis and whomever was representing him were basically turned down by all of the courts that heard it, and his conviction and death sentence was upheld.
Please join us next week for another episode of American DA Live.